Good evening. Welcome to IQI Australia Friday Pop Talk. I am Lian, your host this evening. We are now broadcasting live from the City of Life, Perth in Western Australia. Thank you for joining us this evening. And last week, we had the pleasure to talk to many of our audience about an opportunity to invest in Melbourne. And we have also presented a first of its kind development, which is the Premier Tower. So if you missed out on that live talk last week and would like to find out more, please get in touch with us. Our contact detail is actually on the screen, and let me have a look. Oh, it's actually not now, but it will be on the screen later. Feel free to drop us an email, and we can send the presentation out to you as well as the project information, or you are welcome to leave the message on our Facebook page as well, which is the comment section. And then one of our team member will get in touch with you. And just let you know as well, because the live talk is going to be shared on multiple platforms. So if I miss your comment or miss any of your question, please don't worry. We will get back to you. Now, after our live talk on Melbourne, investing in Melbourne last week, we actually got a number of comments from our audience wanting to find out a little bit more about the market. So basically look at how the Melbourne market is doing at the moment and a little bit of outlook. And therefore, we decided, so this week, we will invite Coolia Residential Victoria to join us again to not only talk about another exciting investing opportunity, which is Melbourne Quarter by Land Lease. And she is going to share with us a little bit about what is happening in the market at the moment and what is the outlook, what is the update. And for all the investors out there, all these are very valuable information to help us to make that final decision. So we are very privileged to have Hilda share with us this evening. So join me welcome Hilda from Coolia Residential Victoria. Good evening, Hilda.
Good
How are you
evening, Liam.
today?
Good evening, everyone. I'm good. I'm well, thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. I know it's very late in Melbourne. So, yeah, that we really appreciate that.
No worries, my pleasure. It's my pleasure to share about the Melbourne update, the current market, what it is, because it has been very hot since the
Mm,
Australian border opens when international students start coming back to Melbourne. I don't want anyone to
mm.
miss the opportunity, especially when there's government policy that helping on the stamp duty until end of this month. So the clock is ticking. If anyone interested or have ever think about that, I think here is the time and the last chance not to miss.
Exactly, because we usually do this prop talk every fortnight, but then when we realize the timeline is so tight, so we thought we'd do another one and provide all the important information to our investor, and so that they can have, be able to make that decision faster. Hilda, I believe you have a presentation that you will share with us this evening.
Yep.
Yep,
So long story
go
short,
ahead.
I will share
Yep.
my slides and so a little bit background of myself. So I'm Hilda from Collier's Residential Victoria. I'm the assistant relationship manager, mainly helping all the wider group out there and in getting the right information to the target audience and obviously helping with a lot of marketing strategies and just to highlight with all the project important notes that make sure the buyer has got the right information and they understand well on the project. And if there's any inquiries, I'm always happy to help, not only with the partner agents locally, but also I work with a lot of partner agents overseas, from Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, whatever you name it. So whenever there is an interest in Melbourne market, I'm always here to help. So let's talk about the Melbourne residential market update because everyone might have heard of Victoria, particularly in Melbourne. We have the longest lockdown in the whole world. We named the most lockdown country during the pandemic period. I'm very glad to say that pandemic now is already way past beyond us. So we're looking ahead. But out of the city in the entire Australia, Melbourne is still recovering as we have lost quite significant of the populations from temporary working visa, from international students, and we have a majority of the immigrants that might move back to the home country because of a bit of uncertainty during the pandemic. But pandemic is really happening like 100 years in a time. We don't expect that it coming back again. So Melbourne is start picking up in the recovery stage, and for other cities like Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane, because they have been going well, and the market, the home market landscape is actually very different from Melbourne, particularly of the composition of the populations over there as well. So they have already gone through recovery. They're in expansion stage, which eventually, because of the cycle of the market, when it becomes too mature, then it will eventually drop again. And there's actually no population to support the supply, where the demand in Melbourne is still keep increasing, where our supply will eventually be run out. It's only 6 months time from now for the market to eventually notice that we are undersupply in the city of Melbourne because of the several reasons that I'm going to talk about today. So going next is one of the reasons why you would consider investing in Melbourne, because we have the growth here, we have stability here, and we have affordability here. So out of the city in Australia, I'm proud to say that Melbourne is considered as the first tier city other than just Sydney. But in terms of affordability, we definitely outweigh the Sydney one, because Sydney, all the land are quite saturated and the apartment market is getting more and more mature. In the city of Sydney, if you consider buying an apartment, even just one bedroom, I've heard about the latest one is almost 2 million Australian dollars. So it's not really healthy as an investment stock, or even for occupier, you're paying quite some money in just one bedroom apartment. So in terms of the long-term growth, when a lot of the corporation headquarters are actually moving to Melbourne now, and we have the population of the international students and a bit of immigrants and working visa that is coming to Melbourne to support the growth, and a bit of infrastructure doing around the city of Melbourne. So we have the growth, we have the stability, and also our pricing of the house and of the property is much affordable than the other city. And if we are looking at the chart here, Melbourne is always growing very, very stable in an uptrend, and we have quite an incremental margin compared to other Brisbane or in Gold Coast in Queensland City. So as an investor, you definitely want something that can give you a stable income and with a good potential growth as well. So Melbourne would be a good choice. And by speaking of that, some fun dimension demographic of Melbourne that we might not notice. So our population now, we are foreseeing that with the international student comebacks, and because there's quite some countries opening, and quite some countries that Australia, particularly in the Victoria state, are opening to people like immigrants to come to develop in Melbourne. So we foresee ourselves, our population will eventually larger than Sydney by mid-2030. And I actually noticed even after the pandemic, there's quite some population moving from Sydney to Melbourne. Could be a couple of the reasons, because of the development, because of the long-term growth, because of the weather. Well, we have no flood and we have no bushfire affecting our neighborhood. So quite some people actually moving down from Sydney to Melbourne now, and so as Queensland. So our population will keep going, and eventually will be larger than Sydney, become the largest population city in Australia. And we are the most resilient global city. and used to be one of the livable city. We still are one of the. We're just not taking the champion, not taking the first spot, but we definitely is one of the livable global city in the whole world. That in terms of the price of the housing, in terms of the neighborhood, in terms of the culture, in terms of education, everything in balance, we're top of the world. But unfortunately, with how scared, how limited supply in terms of the land in CBD of Melbourne. In the next 6 months, Melbourne apartment is just going to be under supply, where there is no more residential tower building coming up and no new projects that actually going to launch. So eventually, a bit of the population in the CBD the demand will keep increasing, but they have to rely on the current supply. So it's a good chance to buy now. If you don't buy, and after 6 months when it comes to undersupply, you have to buy secondhand stock. With secondhand stock, you're paying more and more the OC body corporate fee to maintain all the building and facilities. So speaking of the population projections, we definitely over pandemic has the biggest drop, biggest hit out of other city in Australia, because we lost of because not sure if everyone is aware that Melbourne, in the city of Melbourne, we have three major university campus around us, which is the Melbourne University of Melbourne. We have RMIT, and we also have the Monash campus near us as well, in the Parkville area. So unfortunately, because of the pandemic hit, a bit of the international student went back to their home country. So we literally had the biggest drop during the pandemic period, and now we are slowly picking up. But because some of the Asia countries still have limitation in traveling outbound, so we expect that by the time when the whole world back to normal, our population will grow out much more than New South Wales and other state in Australia. And in terms of the infrastructure, how government is supporting the population growth, in saying that at the moment, we have our own railway system. We call it the metro, that connects to all the outer suburb. So if international students have their own job placement, or they have to travel to other campuses, it's actually very easy because we have the metro railway. But to support more and more people coming to city of Melbourne in a we call it, might be a downtown or in a central CBD area, there is more railway happening around the CBD that connects to even further outer suburb, and also with the airport, like a main transportation system that connects back to the airport. Because at the moment we have the Sky Bus, which is very convenient, and is every 5 to 10 minutes you have a bus that connects from the airport to the city. But other than that, it will just give you another way, an alternative to connect to CBD and also the airport as well. And we have the suburb railway loop. So for the major suburb, we have the loop that connects to CBD and also the major suburb. Some suburb that you might have heard of is Glenwaverley, Clayton, which is the one of the Monash campus as well, Box Hill. So all the major suburbs that you have heard about in Melbourne, they'll connect together and with the CBD. And also connectivity with the western suburb. At the moment, we only have the Westgate Bridge. So once, if there's if there's any incidents that happening in the Westgate Bridge, the traffic looks quite bad. And speaking of that, and that's why government is actually undergoing a project of the Westgate Tunnel. So it's underground that connects the western suburb back in the CBD. And last but not least is the Northeast Link. So as you can tell, not only western suburb, but the northern suburb, eastern suburb. The whole government is enhancing the connectivity between all the outer suburb and the CBD to ensure that CBD will continue to be an important economical growth as a city hub. And earlier, I was talking about the undersupply. And why would Melbourne going to experience undersupply? Some people might have a big question mark when you're looking at the map of Melbourne. It's actually quite large, but unfortunately, our CBD area is very limited. So if you're looking at the map on the right-hand side, the green area is the CBD grid. So the entire CBD, we only have this area called Central CBD. And then we have the yellow area as South Bank. So by just looking at the City of Melbourne area, from 2016, the City Council changed the land ratio, the floor area ratio from 1 to 36 to 1 to 18, which is a time less than what it was now, So it's looking at one of our other projects, Aspire Melbourne, which at the moment the permits has 64 levels. With the new current permit, the City Council will only only allow it to be 35 level. And this, because of this regulation, so a lot of the investor and developer actually hesitate to get into the market because there is and it is anticipated no such size of the land that you can buy to be enable you to build a profitable residential tower, because with the current land size that you can get, maybe you can only, with the current ratio, you can only build 10 to 20 apartments, which eventually with the current price of the land, any investor or any developer would not be able to make any profits on that. So they wouldn't consider, and that's why with the real it's such a high obstacle and barrier for the investor or developer to looking for new project to launch it in CBD area. So eventually, with such rules, such regulations imposed, it will be undersupply in the very short term. And second, there is a better apartment design standard that implement in April 2017 as well. And with this is another obstacle. So it's better for occupier and tenants and for a bit of the investor as well, as it's more livable in terms of apartment. You got a actually quite decent area. So because a bit of people who assume apartment will be quite small and not is quite could be unpleasanting, but with such better apartment design standards. So this ensure that your tenants or as an owner, you're living in a comfortable space. You're buying a comfortable apartment. But to investor or to developer, it could be quite an obstacle to get into the market. And that's why when we're looking at apartment launch, so after 2020s, we anticipate there is actually no more apartment, the green area. There's no actually green chart that you is going to launch, going to come up here. So we're going to go in undersupply very soon. And speaking of the design standard, what is that difference? So from the left is our 1-bedroom plus study in Melbourne Quarter. And on the right, it was a 1-bedroom planned before without the design standard. So on the left-hand side, 1-bed plus study, you obviously looking at a very decent kitchen area after you walk home. And then you have a proper dining area, living area. And you have your bedroom. So bedroom makes a very huge difference. It's all the bedroom. If you have to call an area a bedroom, you need to have a window that enables you to look at the outdoor area, like looking at your external area. So when you referencing to the old plan without the design standard, when we are looking at the bedroom, it's actually just like a corner of an area, like a cubicle inside an apartment that doesn't have an external window. And the kitchen area would just be like a long bench along the corridor area. So this is one of the great example to demonstrate why with the design standard, this actually will directly affect the profit of the developer as well, and it's getting less and less developer will willing to launch a project in CBD area. So with the current, from what we have known from colleagues or all the research that we have done from what we have known, the completion of the city apartment is going less and less. So even for the after planned project that launched 5 years ago, it's going to complete this year. But after that one is complete, there is actually no more project going to launch as an after plan project. So you don't anticipate any new apartments coming up after the current batch of project is complete. So by the time of 2024, when all the project that we are aware of become completed stock, there are actually no more apartments that you can get as a new apartment. And later on, I will highlight why investor would like to get a new apartment instead of a second-hand apartment, because it gives you a great idea of tax deduction. If you're thinking to move to Australia and you as a taxpayer, it could be quite a different buying first and new apartment and the second-hand apartment. And in terms of the vacancy rate, since 2006 until now, the whole Australia and is actually having the lowest national vacancy rates, which is good for the investor and for the owner, because that means majority of the owner, majority of the landlord, they have tenants in their investment apartment. And particularly in Melbourne, unfortunately, we have the biggest hit over the lockdown period, over the pandemic. And that's why out of the city in the entire Australia, Melbourne has the biggest number of the vacancy rate in March 2021, when we lost majority of the international students. And when 2022 February, by the time our borders open, international student comes back, we quickly pick up most of the vacancy stock, and our vacancy rate become 2.3, which is half of the vacancy has just gone once the border reopened. And not considering that at the moment, majority of the university allowing students to do hybrid class, or they don't have to, attendance is not mandatory, is not compulsory. So a bit of the students are still doing kind of their home study back in their own countries. But eventually, when the next semester hit, they have to come back to Australia because attendance will be required. And by that time, we anticipate the vacancy rate will getting less and less. And even in just a month between February 22nd, when we're looking at the chart here, the second last column, from February 22nd to March 22nd, see how much we pick up. So we actually pick up another half of the vacancy rate again. So it is good, which is a good sign that people are coming back to Melbourne and the stock are picking up. So this is a very healthy cycle for the landlord, for the owner, for the investor as well. And the relationship between supply, it's just a market trend. Supply and demand, vacancy rate, rental yield, property price is obviously correlated to each other. When there is not enough supply, when demand keep increasing, the vacancy rate will drop. So that means no more vacancy apartment and people getting harder to rent an apartment. And for your rental, and then the landlord and the owner actually control the rental market. They control the price of the rent. So the rental yield will potentially increase, and so as the property price. And if developer notice that there is quite some demand in the market, the property price will eventually go up. And even for your second hand to sell it back to market, the property price will be looking quite healthy as well. So typically, this is from the JLL report. So typically, we're seeing that a vacancy rate is around 3%, considered as the market equilibrium. That is a high, healthy, balanced market. So anything below 3% indicate our undersupply. So when we look in, if we still remember, in March 22nd, Melbourne vacancy rate is 1.9%. We actually start getting to undersupply with the rental market already. And the current yield in Melbourne, you're looking at 4.5 to 5.5%, which we are sitting in a very, very healthy market at the moment. And in short term and even long term, demand will continue to increase, and supply, because the projects stay as it is. There is no more supply that coming to the market, and so as the price will go up, and rent will continue to go up as well. And why now? Why I always thought that is a good time to get into the market now, because the Victorian government has been very kind to offer a stamp duty savings. So this is not only limited to local buyer, but also this benefits. It doesn't limit to local buyer only, but it also benefit to FIRB, that we call overseas buyer. And also, if you are a taxpayer in Australia, it's a good time, because it's end of financial year. You have to file your tax, so you want to get as much tax back to your own pocket as possible. So speaking of the stamp duty savings, what is that? What is that about? So for any of the local buyer that has PR status or permanent resident status, or they are Australian citizens, when they're buying a property, they have to pay 5.5% stamp duty. This is standard for local buyer. And for overseas buyer, your components of the stamp duty will be the local 5.5%, and on top you have to pay surcharge, which is 8%. And there will be an application fee that grant you the approval to buy as a foreigner, to buy Australian property. So it composed of these three major elements to enable you to buy an apartment. So before any contract that execute and enter into a valid contract before 30th of June, end of this year. So for this is only for new apartment, not any second-hand apartment. So any new apartment that is complete more than 12 months and left unsold, you have full 5.5 local stamp duty savings. That means if you're buying a new apartment that complete more than 12 months, you do not have to pay the local 5.5 stamp duty. For local buyer, you pay nothing for the tax, for stamp duty. And for overseas buyer, you're only paying 8% surcharge. A majority of the project, the developer is paying the application fee for you, and that you're looking at around $6,350 that developer is sacrificing their profit and putting into your own pocket and paying that for you. So if you're not considering any new apartment that has been unsold for the last 12 months, and you only consider the new residential project that complete less than 12 months, say like a new residential project, then you get 15% off. But obviously, if there is a new apartment that enables you to save the full stamp duties, I'll highly recommend that. And why not? Why not now? So just a kind of hint and a highlight of the SRO. There is a stamp duty calculators. If any uncertain, you can always go back to the calculator to calculate tax as in foreign buy as well. And also for tax deduction purpose, why is that important? What is depreciation? Why I have to buy property? Why buying new apartment can enable you to save tax? Because of the depreciation. So what is depreciation? Property depreciation is a tax break that allows investors to offset their investment property decline in value from their taxable income. So let's look at an example. So consider a two bed one bath in Melbourne Quarter, and consider your annual income is 125,000. So if we can look at the tax bracket here first, if you are 125,000 annual income, your tax margin will be around 37%. So if you look at the numbers on the right hand side, so your tax margin is looking at around marginal tax is around 37%. So, and now is a demonstration on how I can bring you down from the 70% tax bracket into 32.5%. It's actually a huge deduction. That means you are paying your taxable income from 37% unto 32.5%. So let's look at here. So consider a contract price of the two bed one bath in Melbourne Quarter is 650,000, and you can borrow 70%. You can get 70% of your mortgage. So this is your loan amount. So this is 70%, and your considered weekly rent will be 600, and with 53 weeks in a year, then you got 31,200 as your annual rental income. And here is the expenses like OC, maintenance fee, water rate, council rate. This is standard. So for overseas buyer, your net cash flow, your income will stop here because you don't pay. You're responsible your own tax in your own home country, but your income will stay here. So for Australian taxpayer, for local people who pay tax, so depreciation of an apartment has 10 years. And speaking of the first year, you're looking at two bed one bath depreciation 15,000. That means from the balance sheet here, you're actually losing money because your apartment actually deduct in value for 15,000. So from you're losing $15,000 in your apartment, even you're earning 7,000. So from your balance sheet, you're losing $7,129. But because you're losing money here, so from your taxable income, so your taxable income 125,000, we minus what you lost from your balance sheet, which is $7,129. So your taxable income become less. That is 170,871. And from that, your tax bracket has dropped from 125,000 into the next tax bracket. That becomes the marginal tax is 32.5%. And that's why actually, even you got tax deduction, you're also earning that cash flow, cash-free, your tax-free cash flow from your rental income. And then you pay less tax as well. So this one is a very important kind of concept for investor on how to help them save tax. So consider if, because in Australia, we pay a bit of tax out of our pocket, and obviously you want to get much back to your pocket as possible. So a bit of people will consider buying an apartment, not only enable them to get a positive cash flow from the rental income, but also help them to have negative gear in saving the tax. Yeah, so we have talked about that, and that's why we used to be in the tax bracket 125,000. Then we bring down your taxable income to the next bracket. So now coming back to the major part of our night, which talking about Melbourne Quarter, and why I would suggest Melbourne Quarter. Why is it a good property to invest now? Obviously, because it entitled for the full stamp duty savings. So Melbourne Quarter was completed in February last year. So we have completed more than 12 months, and that enables the buyer to enjoy the full stamp duty from the City of Melbourne. That is that 5.5%. and the developer here is Landis. So I'm not sure how many audience here have heard about Landis. So Landis is Australia top 50 listed company. They do not only develop the project, but they also build their own project. So they're developer and also the builder. And speaking of that, they have majority of the project in Sydney. So 70% of the project in the entire Sydney landscape, 70% of the portfolio belongs to Landis. And even in the international world, not sure how many of us are aware, Sydney Opera House, and also the Twin Tower in Malaysia, the tallest building in Taipei 101, in New York, the 9/11 Memorial Stadium, and in United Kingdom, the Olympian Athletes Village. They are all built and developed by Landis. So their expertise do not limit to national Australia only, but they have the international expertise in developing and also building high-rise building or a bit of the signature building around the world. And this is one of the reason why over 2 months that we pick up the project, and there is more than 60 apartments sold in just 2 months, because a bit of the investor around the world, particularly from Hong Kong and Singapore, Malaysia, a bit of the investor actually come because they buy the property because of the name of Landis, because they want to buy a property that they have a reliable developer. I think is a very common thing that people believe in the developer, and so that they believe in their project that is a high quality, and then ensure the confidence even they're not here, the building will be well looked after. And in terms of the location of the Melbourne Quarter, we are on 628 Flinders Street, so it's right next to the river, and we are just 5 minutes walk across the river. Then you got to the Crown Casino precinct, and at the back we have Southern Cross Station, and in front of you have got Flinders Street. So there is quite at least 3 tram that brings you along the free tram along Flinders Street that enables you to go to the Flinders Street station as well. And a bit of the international student actually like the neighborhood here because it's a waterfront area and it's more peaceful than like central CBD area. It's too crowded for them. So they actually prefer Melbourne Quarter rather than the area in the central CBD. And if they have to go to school, they only have to take the tram from Flinders Street and take the other one on Swanston Street, and that will bring them back to the campus directly. So it's very convenient as well. So speaking of Melbourne Quarter is not limited to the residential tower itself only. So Melbourne Quarter is one of the largest development site in the CBD. So in the Melbourne Quarter, developed by Landis, they have 3 commercial tower building. So when we're looking at the 3 commercial tower building and also 2 residential tower building in that whole development, whole permit site. So from the left, we have 1 Melbourne Quarter and 2 Melbourne Quarter. They are completed commercial building at the moment, and the major tenants is AMP Finance Company and also the Landis office in Victoria. And the Tower 2, commercial Tower 2, the major tenants is Energy Australia. And now we have Melbourne Quarter Tower that is under construction at the moment. It will complete in 2024. And in front of us, we have 2 residential tower permit. What we are selling at the moment is Melbourne Quarter East Tower. So this tower is complete, while the West Tower, there is a permit, but it's not planned or launched yet because of the construction cost is going high and like at least 5% increase every day. And that's why it's getting huge barrier for the developer to launch the market in a healthy price point. So there's no plan to launch the West Tower yet, and we're only saying the East Tower. And if we're looking at the whole project site, so East Tower is the one at the back on the left-hand side, which is waterfront. East Tower, we are complete and selling this tower. And the West Tower next to it is just a permit area. We haven't have planned yet. And Lenny's has committed in the next 5 to 10 next 5 to 6 years. They're not doing anything with the site at the moment. So at the back is a Melbourne Quarter office tower that is under construction. And by the time this office building complete, if you don't mind, I jump into the page in front. So by the time this commercial tower complete, you have the laneway that allows you to walk back from the Melbourne Quarter East Tower and directly to Collins Street. So your entrance of the building is not only limited to Flinders Street, and also you have another entrance from the back of the building to Collins Street. That enables you to walk 3 minutes walk, then you can walk to Southern Cross Station. Or if it's rainy days, you don't want to walk, just out at your doorstep, you have the free tram that enable you to go to Flinders Street Station. So looking at the rendering here, on the far left-hand side, this one with the curved shape, that one is Southern Cross Station. And then just imagine from the East Tower, you can walk back to the Southern Cross Station. And here is the waterfront, demonstrating the waterfront area. We are the East Tower that is at the front, just on Flinders Street. And we see the commercial tower at the back that is under construction. And by the time of this one complete, then you can walk back to Collins Street. So here is one of the garden. Then the highlight is in the whole permit site, in the whole site area, 52% of the land is garden area. So no other developer in the CBD area would have sacrificed that much of their land into a garden area. That is a plus for the purchaser for the owner of Melbourne Quarter apartment, because this is how you want to keep the value in terms of the secondhand sale, because of the whole project area, keeping the value and keeping a green area. And that's why it's helping you to keep your secondhand stock will be well even after 10 years as well. So here is the first video that I would like to share about the neighborhood of Melbourne Quarter. So the video demonstrates a bit of the neighborhood that includes the commercial building, and also there's cafe, a bit of dining area in the commercial area that enables even the residents of the East Tower, if you need any quick fix of your stomach, if you're looking for food, you have your easy way to go. You always have the cafe underneath of the commercial building. And speaking of the incentive in Melbourne Quarter, developer is offering 5% purchaser rebate. That is a rebate assessment, and it doesn't add into your contract price, because if you want to get mortgage from the bank or from the broker, you don't want them to know that you have a separate rebate. That is the cash going back into your pocket. You don't have to pay for it. That enables you to borrow more money from the bank. So this one is a 5% rebate. It's a rebate and settlement. It's adjustment at your balance. And the FIRB fee, that is $6,350. So if you're a local buyer, it will give it back to you as an additional rebate. And for overseas buyer, the developer going to pay to the Victorian government on behalf of you. And you don't have to make any application yourself. Save the solicitor fee, and you don't have to pay anything. So it will be done by the bank at the back end. And in every single apartment, blinds are already installed and include. So if you're looking at installing blinds in this Melbourne apartment, you can easily spend up to $3,000 area. So it's definitely a plus when the blinds include, and your tenants can just move in. You don't have to arrange extra people to go in and fix the blinds for your tenants. And all apartment here is qualified for 0 City of Melbourne stamp duties. So that means you do not have to pay stamp duty before end of the month, 30th of June. We have unfortunately sold out, lucky for the developer, but unfortunately we have sold out 1 bed and 1 bed plus study. So the cheapest 2 bed 1 bath we're looking at is apartment 211. The size is 65 square meters, and the contract price is $607,000, and after 5% rebate, it's 576, and not considering if you're local, you will have additional 6,000 rebate on top. And 2 bed 2 bath, we're setting at 87 square meters, price $709,000, and after rebate is $673,000. 3 bed 2 bath, 3 bed 2 bath is standard, come with 2 car park, and the size is 99 square meters. We only have 1 apartment that is 3 bed left, and the contract price is 1.44 million, and after 5% rebate is 1.36. One of the highlight in 3 bed is a very limited product and a scale product in the CBD Melbourne. So if you're looking at a project, the 3-bedroom always has the least portion. Could be because the profit margin is not as high, but unfortunately it's very rare because most of the 3 bed are occupied products. So when a buyer buy in, they wouldn't put it back in the second-hand market because they actually live in it themselves, or even if they're investment properties, it's just going to be a very long-term rental. So it's very rare to see 3-bedroom apartment, and that's why we only have 1 left in Melbourne Quarter as well. So here is another video about the building. Yep. So these slides, I have put down some link. If anyone will be interested, they can copy and paste this link later on after the webinar today, and it gives you the actual sense of how the facilities look like in the actual sense. So that enable you even overseas buyer, you can feel like you visited property, you visit the amenities yourself as well. And one of the highlights in Melbourne Quarter is the body corporates. It's relatively cheaper than other projects. So it's quite common to see even 2 bed 1 bath. The body corporate fee can go to 4,000, and 2 bed 2 bath could be 6,000. It's actually very common in the Melbourne CBD apartment, but particularly because of land lease, they in the whole Melbourne Quarter project, they do not only have the residential tower, but they also have the commercial tower. That's why a bit of the third party, like cleaning company fee, they are shared across all the building themselves, and that's significantly effectively lowered down your body corporate fee. So for 1 bedroom, unfortunately, it's sold out, but 1 bedroom, you're looking at $2,500, $3,000 per year. And 2 bedroom is $3,000 to $3,500 per year. And 2 bed 2 bath is 3.5 to 4.5, depends whether your apartment comes with car park. And that last three bedroom apartment is around 5,000 per year in terms of the maintenance, the body corporate fee. But that we are paying relatively less body corporate fee, but the developer didn't compromise on the quality of the amenities. We have 25 meters long, 2-lane swimming pool, heated, and we have the hot spa, we have steam room, sauna, we have the gym room that is fully equipped with techno gym. That is the brand even Olympian is using for their workout, for their training. So it's highly professional. And then you have a professional kitchen here that you can bring in your friends for a party. So even if you're buying a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, your apartment internal size is not enough to host friends for party, you definitely have your own amenities that enables you to do that. You don't have to buy a big house, but because of the OCV, enables you to do everything like that already. And as a developer, Islandese, they have a very good network of the community group out there, and that's why they're bringing in yoga class in their multi-purpose room and also cooking class momentarily, that create kind of a community around the building itself, the building residence itself. So now here is some of the recommendation for the apartment products in Melbourne Quarter. Some of the case study we can see here. So for apartment 614, the contract price is 622, 2-bed, 1-bath, northwest facing. So abundant sunlight will be coming into your home. Internal 62 square meters, external 4 square meters, a total of 66 square meters for 2-bed, 1-bath. So after 5% rebate is 590,900. And if you are a local buyer, you will have additional $6,350 as additional rebate. And if you are the local overseas buyer, then developer going to pay this amount for you to the government, and you have 0 stamp duty. So here is a type 14 video that we can look at. Yep. So here is the type 14. And moving next, we are looking at the type 15 on level 20, apartment 2015. So contract price 671,000. Very square with floor plan, 2 bedrooms separate each other. So as a rental product, is very good because 2 bedroom uninterrupt separate from each other. And internal square meters 59, external 4 square meters, total of 63 square meters. After 5% rebate, the actual price is 637,450. And with FRRB fee as an additional rebate for local buyer, same. Blinds include and 0 stamp duty saving as well. So let's look at the video of the type 15. So for type 15 square wish floor plan, and you got your city view and also North Melbourne view, is a quite a view that it is just going to be uninterrupted in future, and you'll be able to see far to North Melbourne. Quite open up view. And next is two bed, two bath product. The floor plan type 04 in level 1704, contract price 763,000, two bed, two bath. We have this floor plan with car park. So one of the good highlights is when you consider it is very personal choice whether you want to buy a car park or without a car park. But for the same floor plan, if you're looking at just a level up and down, with the same floor plan, you will be looking at around 100 to 110,000 in difference. Speaking of having a car park or without car park. So my suggestion will be, if you're looking at pure investment, you might not need a car park, because that will affect your rental yield. But if you're looking at in the long term, you might live in it yourself. I will consider buying a car park as a safety choice. So it's really personal, but just as a reference, the difference could be around $100 to $110,000. Yeah. So this one around 700 is without car park. It's a two bed, two bath product. Internal 69 square meters, external 6 square meters, so a total of 75 square meters. And after 5% rebate is $724,850. And same for FRB fee, as a bonus for local buyer, and blinds are included, 0 stamp duty savings. Let's look at the video of this one. So in the video, one of the highlight is the view here. So with 04 or 03 apartment type, you will be able to see a good city view, and also you will be able to see Yarra River from your balcony as well. And over New Year's Eve period and every night at after 6 every hour, then you see the fire show out of Crown, which is a good scenery as well. So it's definitely a plus when you're thinking about two bedroom, two bathroom product. And next we have another two bed, two bath. This one is with car. So you see that one, there's 04, the size is actually the same, 75 square meters, internal 69, external 6 is exactly the same size. But what makes the difference is the car park. So the one that we were looking at is around 750,000 with that car park, and now with the car park is 847,000. And after rebate, after 5% rebate, you're looking at $804,650. And blinds include FRB fee as bonus for local buyer. And this one you'll be able to see the city view, and also a bit of the Yarra River view from the bedroom as well. Some people might prefer this one rather than the oval. Could be because they want the sunlight, more and more sunlight to come in. This one is unbeatable when you speak of sunlight, because look at how the glass panel going around, like majority of the apartment is wrapped up by the glass. So you definitely have enough sunlight, sufficient abundant sunlight that can come in. So here's no 2. Yep. So last but not least, our last apartment is three-bedroom apartment. Apartment 4002 is the only one, only three bed in the whole project at the moment. So three bed, two bath with two car park. This one is east facing, so the view could be very similar with the two bed, two bath that we were looking at, with the city view and also the Yarra River view. So internal square meters is 91, external 8 square meters, a total of 99 square meters. And for this one, you have got 5% purchase rebate, but because this one the contract price is more than a million, so the city of Melbourne that stamp duty waivers have a ceiling, have a maximum allowance of 1 million. Unfortunately, this one is about a million for free bet, so developer is covering you for the stamp duty. So additional 5.5% on top of the rebate is covered by Lenny's. So your total rebate amount will be $151,305. So which is 10.5% on the contract price is going back to you. And then for your FRB fee, because this one is about a million, so is 12,700. Sorry, this one is typo. So it's $12,700 FRB fee, and blinds are included. And looking at the floor plan, you have a 30 square inch for a three bedroom. When you walk in, you have your kitchen area, proper dining area, and then you have two bedroom on the left, and your lounge area with a balcony as well, and another guest room on the side. And then you have got bathtub in your master bedroom ensuite as well. So let's look at the video. Great. So I think I have pretty much all I have prepared for you guys today. Hopefully this gives you quite an idea of how Melbourne Quarter looks like and the current Melbourne market. If any questions, feel free to get back to Leanne. And Leanne, you here?
Yep, I am here. Thank you so much, Hilda. That is a very detailed, fantastic presentation. And after you present the outlook and the update about Melbourne City,
Yeah.
and you are right, Melbourne is resilient. Yeah, things bounce back so quickly. They really recover very well from the pandemic. I mean, the pandemic sounds like so long ago now, but yet kind of still here. Because I remember doing a rental vacancy comparison for one of my investor. I think it's probably less than a year ago. I'm looking at the vacancy rate. It was about it's almost like hit 7% then for Melbourne CBD. And then when you show us just then, which is about 1.9% now, that is amazingly low.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
It
what you
definitely
said.
is.
Yeah, the demand is there, the supply is getting less and less.
Correct.
So yeah, so it's really um, do something
It's a
now.
good time. Yeah, it's just a good time to get into the market. If you don't get in now, you miss the chance. Um,
Mm,
and you're just gonna regret because the price gonna go up when the developer notices that there is actually no project launching. So I'll be the
mm,
last. If speaking of the lucky last, I'm gonna raise up my price, and because
yes.
if someone needs to buy it, it is from me. I am the lucky winner at the last.
Good one.
Yeah.
And and also after that presentation, I also have a huge message for our foreign investor, because like
Oh,
what you say, not only the duty saving that you get 5.5%, the local duty part, and also that there's not going to be a lot of supply, or there's no new development coming up in the next few years.
correct.
For a lot of the um, parents from overseas, Australia has been the top three destination for study, and in terms of
Mhm.
uni tertiary education. a lot of people are planning to come here, especially after the pandemic. They see how Australia managed ourselves. We did so well. And a lot of the family are really thinking, I think one day Australia probably will overtake USA and the UK to become like, the top destination for tertiary study.
Mm-hmm.
And for foreign buyer to come in, they have to buy brand new. So if they don't do anything now, if they want to go to Melbourne to study, they probably have to rent.
Yeah,
So,
correct.
and then you will be,
So,
they will be paying your investment property,
yeah,
Hilda.
if you got money, why don't you own your apartment after your son or daughter use the apartment like as their own accommodation in their study, and then you got a chance to as a secondhand sale or as an investment property in the long term, rather
Yeah.
than you helping others to pay rent, isn't it?
Then you can do all your negative gear.
Yes, correct. Right, you're right.
We plan it well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so I think that is a huge message out there, especially for Melbourne. It has been like a popular destination for students.
mm-hmm.
And at the moment, like what you said, they're all studying from the home country, but eventually everyone will come back because there is a whole point of studying overseas or go to another country to experience uni life.
Yeah.
So you have to integrate in there. Yeah.
And
Sorry.
I
Mm,
actually forgot to mention one thing because it's not only about the international student. Because
mm,
I am one of the point that I want to highlight is because a bit of people who kind of used to work from home during pandemic, and that's
mm,
why they kind of moved back to the outer suburb. That needs to travel an hour and a half in travel in kind of commute every day. Um,
mm,
but that becomes history. Work from home has become history because it's no longer required in Victoria, and
mm,
employer actually encouraging. I would say, saying that encouraging is actually required to coming back to the office, and that's why when I'm in Melbourne Quarter every day, I notice that quite
mm,
some tenants they actually are white collars. They're actually working class around the
mm.
city area
Yeah.
because if they could rent an apartment with their colleagues or with their friends, it's actually
Mm,
worth the money rather than travel back and forth every day to save their money, save their time.
mm,
And then they just rent an apartment in the city. And if they need to go back home see their parents, they will. So it's definitely a different trend because
mm.
it's actually not only international student, but a bit of the working class coming back to the
Yeah.
city to work, and they need an apartment in the weekdays.
Yeah. That almost sounds like a double whammy, isn't it? You get the both demand, which is good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Like speaking of the winter in Melbourne, I definitely, because myself, been living in city for 3 to 4 years already before.
Mm,
So it definitely I understand that. Mm,
yeah.
it definitely has its market renting in CBD.
um, I just have one question from the chat room, just asking about a rental, a rough rental that we are expecting for a 2x1 without a car bay, because the price point looks attractive for some, our investors. So they just want to know roughly what sort of price they can get for this type
Like
of.
what I put in the case study there, I would say two
Mm,
by one, two bedroom, one bathroom, 600 is quite safe in the current market.
mm,
Particularly, even the rental market could go up and down a bit when the supply, not only not speaking of supply stay as it is, but speaking of the
mm,
demand. Because whenever a semester open, when the student come back in to the country, it's actually getting crazy. When February, I saw like I thought that it's some kind of concert ticket going on sale, that kind of things, because you literally see a line outside of apartment building when people trying to get an inspection, rent an apartment.
oh,
Um, and that's why the rent could go up quite
mm,
quickly on
mm,
that time. But now I'll
mm,
say quite safe for 600. But if you're
mm,
getting in right time or having an empty apartment in the right time, and international student just need the apartment, you can easily rent up to 650 for two bed as well.
yeah, looking at that vacancy rate, it's
Yeah,
it's yeah, highly likely that you'll be able to, yeah, the rent will continue to increase.
Yeah,
Let
correct.
me have a quick look, and I have a lovely message from Ceiling say, "Buy now or cry later." That is a very good comment. And another great thing that I like about this development is that garden space, the green space that you're mentioning about.
Yeah,
Landlease has spaced out that extra space for the people that live in
for
there.
garden.
Sometimes you just want a bit of a green, and
Yeah.
for say for family with younger children, that's perfect. They just want to run
Yes.
around. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I don't see any question on the chat room that I can see now. So, ladies and gentlemen out there, if I have missed your question, don't worry. We will go through all the chat room later, or all the sharing, and then we will be able to pick up a question and get back to you. And I'm quite aware that today we are over time a little bit because this is an exciting project and there's a lot of update that we need to know. And thank you so much, Hilda, for taking the time. I know it's very late at your side now.
No worries, it's fine. I hope I didn't get everyone bored in the room.
No, it has been good because you're not only talking about just a project. We
Uh-huh.
learn lots more about what is happening in the future,
Yep.
what is happening now,
Yep.
and I think the negative gear for some of the local investor, a lot of them not aware of that. So these are all the
Mm-hmm.
very good information. So once again, for all our audience out there, we've been
Mm-hmm.
talking about Melbourne for the last 2 weeks. So the last week, last Friday, we talked about Premier Tower, and this week, Melbourne Quarter. And then next week, I'm going to have a group of my colleagues sharing their experience when they went to Melbourne about 2 weeks ago, looking at the development, the architecture, the lifestyle, or what is happening in Melbourne. They're going to share their experience there. So if you interested to find out more, join us next Friday. Yeah. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you so much, Hilda, for sharing your thought with us.
No worry, my pleasure. Good
Yeah.
luck,
Is it
everyone, finding your dream property.
sounds great? Anything else that
Okay.
which you would like to add in before we close the?
No, no, that's it. I hope everyone enjoy the information that I share here. And if any questions, feel free to get back to Leanne.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Have a
thanks.
great
Bye, guys.
evening.
You too.
Have a
Bye.
great weekend.